So what we're going to do is we're going to follow a pattern, and I do have kind of some rules to this that I find help. We're going to be starting at or around the head, so you can either start on the head or, the neck or somewhere along the clavicles, something like that. And we're going to be going toward the limbs. So we're going to be going toward the fingertips or toward the toes. So you can do this in any position, right? Like if you had a standing figure, you would be going from the head down to the arms and then the toes. If the figure was upside down and the head was at the bottom, then you'd be starting at the head on the bottom and working the way upwards. But I find that this works a lot better rather than doing some loop-de-loops and staying up around the head. Hopefully this makes more sense as we go along. But what we're going to do is we're going to follow curves. We're going to follow it from the outside, and when it enters into the form, we're going to follow the trajectory and see what we find on the other side. I'm going to start by beginning at the top of the head, and I'm just going to follow this whole big curve into here. So I think this is probably where the base of the skull is. Definitely the hair is coming in here. And now that I have that curve, I'm just going to follow the trajectory, and it kind of just picks up right here by the end of the hand. So I'm going to curve that through and follow until we get to the ribs, and then I'm going to follow this one in. Okay, so I feel like this was a little bit awkward here because I really want to find the outside of the body, and the outside of the body here is covered up. So I'm having to really use my imagination. And that's why I decided to really follow this rib cage, so I had something a little bit more concrete to look at. Okay, so now I've got this curve here in the abdomen, and it's going this direction. So I'm just going to follow that trajectory. And it seems to point right at the top of this thigh right here. So hopefully you can see that. This curve comes in. And if I just kind of gently follow that curve, I can pick it up right here on the inner thigh. So I'm going to follow that curve through now. Find out where it's pointing. And to me, it just seems to be going to the kneecap. And I'm going to end it there because I'm not able to see more of that leg. Now I'm going to kind of go around the front of the face, and I'm just going to keep it really basic right now instead of going in the eye socket or something like that. I'm just going to curve around the front of the face and follow the trajectory of the jaw here. Okay, and as I follow that trajectory, it's picking up the shoulder. Now as the shoulder comes in here, I notice actually it lines right up with the back of the arm. There's a very gentle curve here. It might be a little bit difficult to see, but it's kind of like the back of the arm has one curve here at the armpit, another curve here up by the triceps, and then another curve down here going toward the elbow. So I'm going to follow this gentle curve in right here at the bottom of the triceps. I notice it's pointing just a little bit to this very subtle indentation right here. So I'm going to allow it to continue to follow that way. And now we're at the underneath of the forearm. So here's the curve for the underneath of the forearm. And as I follow the trajectory forward into that hand, it points right at the top of the pointer finger. Since we've gotten to that fingertip, I'm going to go ahead and stop with that one and choose another. And the idea is I'm going to keep looking for curves as I come around here until I have most of the figure covered. So now I'm going to start here at the bottom of the neck. At some point, I'll probably come up here too and actually get the neck, but here is the top of the trapezius, and it does seem to kind of go toward the chin. And since we want to go away from there, I'll now come around here We've got that trapezius, which goes into the body, and it comes out kind of like the back where the shoulder blade would be on this side. I'm going to follow that curve in. I see it coming right about there. I'm going to go all the way across the body. And I'm starting to curve it this way because I know we've got to start to go along the figure, and there is a little bit of a curve on the underneath of the thigh here. That curves in somewhere around here. And in this case, I'm actually going to allow it to continue across the other side, and I notice it lines right up with the front of the foot. So this little curve on the thigh points right at the top of the foot on the other leg. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the rest of the lines being drawn so that I can keep this nice and short for YouTube. But if you would like to see every mark and understand the reasons that I made certain curves go in certain directions, then check out patreon.com/School of Realist Art. You can access tons of resource photos and video tutorials, all done in real time for as little as $10 a month. So the idea through all of this is to begin to see these relationships, to begin to see how things are connected, but also to begin to see the relationships between things that don't seem like they're connected at all, so that we understand the relationship from the underneath of the arm to the top of the hip. And this really helps you get the proportion, because it's so often when we have a figure laying down like this that we try to sit them up or something, and then the torso becomes really long and then the leg really short because this gets elongated because we think they're going to be higher up, and we maybe don't realize the relationship of the hip to the upper half of the body. So these kinds of things really, really help. Now, the second part of this exercise is to try to sketch the figure using these same curves that flow through the body. This is going to help continue to train your eye to look clear from one side of the figure all the way to the other, and to notice relationships that are not at first obvious. It may be difficult to get the proportion correct when you first start doing this exercise, but after some practice, you're going to be able to juggle the proportion and get a nice flowing drawing. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like the full tutorial, visit patreon.com/School of Realist Art. And if you'd like a full figure drawing course, check out figuredrawingacademy.com.